1 second.
1 second, okay.
Tell me when, Alan. Go.
Okay. It is 9:02, I believe, on Thursday, August 20th. We do have a quorum, so I would like to call this planning board meeting to order. Is everyone happy with the agenda? Does anyone suggest any changes?
I just wonder why it says 12 a.m.
Yeah, there's a mistake on law 4.1.
Yeah, the program we use auto defaults to 12 a.m. and sometimes that gets missed. But we'll make duly noted.
It's on the minutes that way too. So
is it really?
Yeah.
That's
what I was.
But the actual meeting was 9 a.m. on January 16th.
I wasn't here.
No changes to the agenda?
Other than the time.
Okay. If that is the case, let us recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is consideration approval of minutes from our January 16th meeting. Does anyone have any changes, or do I have a motion to approve it as written?
Yeah, just the meeting time was wrong on that one too. Should be 9 a.m. Other than that, it's fine with me.
Anyone else have anything?
No.
So a motion to approve it as written with a time change.
Motion to approve.
Second?
It's Don Eggert. I'll second it.
Okay, we'll do it maybe a roll call. Sybil?
Here.
Noel, you approve?
Here.
Ron?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And yay from me. Okay. Next item, under new business, Bird Watch subdivision.
Yeah, there's no S.
I'll just do just an overview of what has been submitted to us. Birdwatch subdivision is one proposed to be located at the intersection of Clubhouse Road and Crooked Gully Circle in Sea Trail. It's proposed to be a residential subdivision of 49 single-family units located in MR3, which is our mainland multifamily residential district. In the UDO, it would fall on a medium density residential area. The project will cover 24.58 acres with 3.31 acres of open space. That 3.31 acres of open would exceed the minimum required in our Unified Development Ordinance. The town's technical review committee has taken a look at the proposal. They found 11 different items in need of correction, and those corrections have been made and are reflected in the document we have. The proposed density is well below the maximum that is allowed in MR3. The UDO states that the minimum lot size in that area would be 7,500 square feet. The actual proposed ranges from a minimum of just over 9,100 square feet to something well over 26,000 square feet. The project will utilize an existing stormwater pond. All lot setbacks are consistent with that called out in our Unified Development Ordinance for that zoning district. Would include a 5-foot wide ADA compliant sidewalk. Roads will be private. and constructed to the town of Sunset Beach standards. An item that we will talk about a little further when we get into questions is in regard to maintenance. Maintenance of roads, sidewalks, stormwater, trees, lighting, and common areas are the responsibility of the developer and future property owners, as is reported to us. Water, sewer, and stormwater will be permitted through the appropriate town, county, or state regulatory groups. Based on the review that has been done by staff, they recommend approval of this project as being compliant with the town of Sunset Beach Unified Development Ordinance and is consistent with the town's 2017 land use plan. So I guess from there we can proceed to any questions or comments or whatever that we might have. Who do we have from the developing group?
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Stanley. I'm with East Coast Engineering and Surveying, and with me I have my partner Alan Lewis over on my right, and we have a developer, Mr. Robert Hill, on my left.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
We thought maybe Todd, I think, is going to walk through this sheet by sheet from the plans that you've given us, and I thought maybe with each one we can raise any questions or comments we might have. I have on the cover, there seems to be the name of the development varies throughout this document. In some cases, we're calling the road, the intersecting road, Crooked Gully Road, and at other times Crooked Gully Circle. I believe, based on the signage in the area, that Crooked Gully Circle is the location. So just a small point, but I'll make note of it.
Yes, sir. That's just a typo on my part and something we can easily change. No problem with that.
I'm sure so. Todd, next page. Okay, I had just a comment or two on the Heritage Tree Survey, which is presented here. We're told that initially only trees in the road right-of-way will be removed, and trees on the actual home lots will be applied for as building permits are applied for those individual home sites. Just wanted to make a point that we will need from you folks the number of trees by species and size that are going to be taken out of the road right-of-way, since that tells us how many trees we're going to be expected to be replaced. So at some point in time, if you would, get that information to Todd. I guess the only other question I have, which is kind of from this sheet, and it's a general question, is in regard to construction access. Have you considered any very specific designated construction access that will have minimal impact on the locale?
We haven't, as far as engineering plans have not really started, but just taking your question, I would think the cul-de-sac that's there on the right would probably be a good start, or either right there at the intersection. I wouldn't think, probably the intersection wouldn't be a good place, but probably the cul-de-sac in the middle, the bubble cul-de-sac. We need a good central location.
Okay. Anyone have anything else on this page?
Question. Problem with that. We don't need an intersection.
Okay. I've got it. Any questions on this page? This is C1-0. Any comments? I have none. No comments? I guess move to the next page. I do have a comment on this page and a couple of others where we're dealing with the canopy trees. Our UDO states that large canopy trees shall be planted at a minimum of 45 feet on center. The plans on page C2.0, C2.1, and C2.2 call for 50-foot intervals. I'm sorry. So we need to tighten up the spreading of those trees to be compliant.
Okay, so I'm showing on the notes here on the top there, large canopy trees planted at 50-foot intervals. Are you saying it's less than that or greater than that?
Less.
I mean, 45. Okay. I got that off of, I may have misread the ordinance. I thought it was a 50-foot, but I'll go back and check that. That's no problem with respacing those at all.
It notes that the large canopy trees are to be planted in the small canopy trees at 25 foot.
Right. I had 50 and 25 on the space on the large and small.
It's the large that's a question.
Do we have our tree ordinances available?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
What is that?
I think it's 10.05B, subdivision street tree canopy, which reads
Right.
large canopy trees.
What page was that? I'm sorry.
Minimum of 45 feet.
I'm getting some feedback. What do you say? Could you repeat that again, Tom? I apologize.
It is
10.
10.05B.
I always use my website, and I can't use my web right now. It's not in here.
Large canopy trees shall be planted at a minimum of
Yes.
45 feet on center.
Oh, gotcha.
And what reference is that again? Article 10.05B?
Correct.
Okay.
Is that something that's recently changed, or is it just that I misread it in the? I use the documents online. I can't, but it's no big deal. I mean, we can readjust the tree location. That's not a problem.
Yeah, I'll email you the most current ordinance just to make sure that you have that. That way we're all exactly on the same page.
Okay.
If you're willing to make those changes, I think that's what Mr. Vincens is concerned about.
That's not a problem at all.
Do we have the small canopy trees correct at 25?
Yeah. Can you check that too, Tom? The small canopy trees at 25, is that correct?
Hold on, I'm pulling up the paper copy right now. It's you're saying Article 10B subdivision street tree canopy. It's 45 feet. 45 feet.
Large. How about the small canopy?
Small canopy is 25 foot.
25 on the small. I got
And
it.
the 6-foot wide planting strip.
I've got, yes, sir. I've got the planning strip.
And we've got that,
Okay.
you've got that in the detail that we had you add.
Okay. We can make that change, no problem.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else on this page? I do not.
Nope.
No,
No.
Whoops.
You're on page C2.1,
Is that the one I'm on?
or you've moved on to 2.2. You've had the same comment.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're on C3.0. I noticed there was a special note that lots 1 through 13 shall have driveway culverts. And what is unique about those lots?
They're located on Crooked Gully Circle, and with the road already being there, the existing infrastructure, it would be treated just as any other lot across the street would be. So it would be driveway culverts in the existing swell, roadside swell.
Okay. All right. Anyone have anything else on that page?
no.
No.
Okay. The next page is our utility page. I counted, I think, 10 new lights, and I assume, or I'm sure, that the lighting will be done to the town of Sunset Beach standards. And I am sure you'll be working in conjunction with Brunswick Electric
Right.
on the street lighting.
Yes, sir. I sent a plan to Brunswick Electric in the process of this, and the light placement is based on where they've put them as far as the plan. Now we will check back again to make sure it complies with the town's ordinance. But I had them place lights and also place future electric transformers.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions on that?
No,
No, it's good.
Same thing here. Good on page 9.
I have nothing on that personally.
No.
Okay.
And we're at C4.2.
Same.
Yeah, same thing there. That's all everyone's questions from the drawings? If so, Ron, I know you had a question on the supplemental declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions.
Yeah, I emailed you and Todd a copy of the question just to avoid the complexity of the Zoom meeting for talking about it. But basically, it's on the responsibility for maintaining the private infrastructure that's going to be heading, the roads, the sidewalks, stormwater, trees, lights. I guess maybe just first of all, an explanation of how this is working. There's like a master association for Sea Trail, and then there seems to be this supplemental declaration of covenants. So it says in paragraph 5 that the master association seems to have some maintenance over Birdwatch's common area. So is all this infrastructure now part of Sea Trail's common area? And Sea Trails will be assessing these 49 homes under their agreement, and then they will maintain all this infrastructure. Or these 49, because of the separate covenants or declaration, responsible for self-assessing and self-maintaining this infrastructure. So, and if so, why isn't that spelled out on how that's going to be assessed in the covenants, and spelled out that the 49 are going to be responsible for this infrastructure? Because none of this is town property. My understanding is the town has taken some roads in Sea Trail, Todd, but not these, right? Are you muted, Todd? Todd?
I'm here. I'm waiting for someone to tell me. I don't have that.
I'm here. My mic shut off.
Yep.
Clubhouse Road is public. Crooked Gully, I believe, is as well. But these new roads are slated to be private.
Right, that would be that,
So who is responsible for them? The whole, all of Sea Trail, or just this 49 house section?
Sea Trail Master Association will be responsible for all infrastructure.
And yet you don't have to follow any of their guidelines until 2024.
That's correct.
Are they aware of this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The owner developers had several meetings with the Master Association, and they've been well advised of what's going on. And as our understanding it, it seems to be a very positive step moving forward.
so paragraph 5 on, let's see, Article 2, paragraph 5, where it says Sea Trail Master Association shall maintain the Birdwatch Common Area. That includes all of that private infrastructure.
Yes, sir.
And the owners of these 49 lots will be assessed by the Sea Trail Plantation Master Association.
Correct.
Any reason why that's not like spelled out in declaration, or can be?
Yeah, we can certainly add to that, no doubt.
So that there's full disclosure to the property homeowners when they purchase, that they know they're going to be assessed by Sea Trail Plantation Master Association, and part of those assessment goes for maintenance and renewal of all the private infrastructure in Birdwatch.
Right. There's no problem with that, Ron. These are drafts. We have them
Right.
together. It's something that we'll look into and add to. No problem.
Ron, my name is Alan Lewis. I'm in the engineering department with East Coast, president of the company. I just wanted to make sure, for clarification's sake, that everyone was aware that the infrastructure associated with the water and the sewer lines, those will become public mains that will be dedicated to Brunswick County. So those will not be privately maintained infrastructure. Those will be publicly maintained.
Then I even further would stress that it's probably a good idea to spell that out in a declaration on what's going to be private and assessed to the homeowners for maintenance. And if that carve out has to be made for stormwater, then that carve out should be spelled out, so there's no confusion 10 years from now.
Understood.
Is the developer maintaining all this for a period of time until a certain number of lots are sold? Does that transfer on a certain date, or?
I can address that. The state stormwater group in Wilmington, you cannot transfer a permit to an association until at least a majority of the lots have been sold.
Mm-hmm. So when 25 lots are sold, then it can be transferred.
It can be transferred at any time after the majority of the lots have been sold, at any time. Now, there's a process for a transfer, and when the transfer request is made to the state, that generates an inspection by state staff. And if there are no inconsistencies or compliance issues, then they will allow the transfer to progress. If they do find a punch list of some items that need correction, then the developer will have to make those corrections. A reinspection occurred until they are satisfied that it meets the requirements of the original approval.
Now, does that same procedure count for the other infrastructure that Sea Trail is taking over? When do they take responsibility for? Let's just say you plant all these big trees and a named storm comes by and knocks over half of them, and you only have 40 lots sold. Who pays for the replacement?
That's not an engineering question, so I'll defer that to the developer.
So, yeah, I mean, so basically, when does Sea Trail take over the maintenance? After a majority of lots are sold, or 80% of the lots, or is that something in the works with them? Or
Yeah, I would think, Ron, that, you know, the developer is going to have to be responsible until such time it can be turned over.
which is when?
I would say the majority of the lots. We're going to have to look into that, but well, I don't have an exact answer, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's more of a legal question, and we'll get with the attorney on that. But my thoughts on it is that it's available to be turned over at the time that a majority of the lots have been sold.
Right. So that should be then put in the covenants also.
Yeah, that needs to be confirmed by the attorneys.
It does.
And Todd, do we require, or the town require anything from Sea Trail saying that this is acceptable to that association?
No,
or
we
don't care.
We don't get involved in any private covenants. That is outside our legal purview.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone have anything else?
Yeah, so Ron, just a point of note too, you know, Sea Trail Master Association is controlled by Sunrise Court, which is the owner and developer of this development. So in a sense, both of these entities that we're talking about is the same person, is the same entity.
Well,
So regardless of when it changes over, it's still the same. You know, Sunrise Corporation owns the property, but they also have control over Sea Trail Master Association.
well, there's an association with the board, is there not?
They are the declarants.
With Sunrise people on it.
No,
Yes.
the Sea Trail Master Association is the homeowners association for everybody in Sea Trail, is it not?
It is, but it's controlled by the declarant, which is Sunrise Corporation, who happens to be the developer of this tract as well.
But at some point, the declarant is out of that also, right? When it reaches a certain point, and then it's just the homeowners.
And we've been told that that's 2024.
Okay, so again, my question then goes to the time between 2021 and 2024, or then after, is clarification on when the homeowners get stuck holding the bag, what do they have in their bag? And what you're saying is true, then it's just a matter of clarification, really, so that the homeowners that purchase this property understand how it works. And there's no dispute later as to when it turns over, who's in charge when, and who pays when.
Right.
It's really just setting the timeline out, sort of, and describing it properly. Like, yes, the lawyers have to write the language on when, you know, when Sunrise, whoever they are, is out and the homeowners are in, either partially or totally.
Correct.
Yeah, so I mean, basically what Mr. Labruno is just saying is make sure that every aspect of the improvements that are required by the town or the state or the county or whatever agency is responsible, the federal government even, as that may be, is specifically, clearly, succinctly explained in the covenants for not only the first-time home buyers in this community, but also all property owners in perpetuity as they move forward, reselling lots and homes down the road. That sum it up about right, Ron?
Yeah, because once the declaration is completed, signed and then recorded with the deeds, then every homeowner knows what they're getting into. If they don't read it, that's their problem. But as long as it's correct and recorded, it's up to them to do their due diligence before purchasing. So,
Mr. Chairman, Steve Coble, may I speak? Can y'all hear me?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm an attorney that has been working with the developer, and do know that those things are typically, the transfer over is something within the discretion of the developer as time progresses, as in all developments. And we'll be happy to go back and look at the language as you suggested to make sure that's absolutely clear to everyone.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Is someone talking? Can't hear. Who's talking?
Sybil, maybe?
No.
No.
No,
Is it-
I'm trying to hear.
Oh, does anybody have any additional questions or comments?
I do not. Does anyone else?
No.
No.
Oh, well, actually, I do. This is Don Eggers. I want to say hi to Chris and Alan. A long time no see.
A long time. I like the beard.
Well, what's left of it's the goatee. But
Well,
yeah, I worked with both Chris and Alan way back in the day. I had hair.
yeah, Don served in the Brunswick County Planning Department for many, many years and
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
planning board.
long time ago.
So it's a long time ago.
Oh my goodness.
So no, does anyone have any other questions, comments, whatever? If not, should we take a vote?
Absolutely.
All right. I'd like to propose that we that make a motion to approve the proposal as being consistent with the Town of Sunset Beach UDO, with several conditions being met. One, in regards to the supplemental declarations of covenants that we just discussed. And I think the other was in regards to the spacing of the large canopy trees. A third one, and a very minor one, was just consistency in identifying Crooked Gully circle.
And the number of heritage trees, right? The count?
The count of the heritage trees.
Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you. You're right. Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal on the assumption that those needs are met. Do I have a second?
Second. Noel, second.
Noel, second.
Okay, we'll take a vote by person. Sybil?
Where's Sybil? Sybil?
I lost people, I think, or something.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Are you asking for my vote?
You're asking for your vote, yes.
I approve. I vote for it.
Noel?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
All right. Tom, I think that was everybody.
I voted aye. Okay. So we're all right? Finished?
We're finished with that. Yes.
Administrative items? Todd?
I believe due to all the upcoming development that we're seeing from approvals from 2019 and the transfer of sale from the Sunrise Corporation to the new owners with Riptide Development, we're receiving a lot of public input. The council's been addressed to provide some guidance to the planning board, so I would anticipate some discussions coming up in from the council, or a little bit more direction from the council, I should say, as how they would like to see us proceed with prioritization of some ordinance changes. So I would be looking for that to come down the road. We still have on the table some items from earlier this year, pre-COVID, that can be of good assistance to the development that we're seeing, with our native species ordinance that we had on the books, or that we were looking at, and of course a couple other things that we were looking at. But I think a couple of the priorities have probably changed just due to the nature of the current development environment. So I would anticipate having to go down some different roads than we probably originally anticipated. Just to touch base on the Riptide purchase, they did purchase 221 acres, is my understanding. They will be moving forward more or less in line with, the tracts of land that have been undeveloped have had design work done on them. Some of them have pre-existing approvals with various state agencies, federal agencies, if you will. And I would anticipate from my conversations, a lot of those plans coming forward based on those original designs, which fall well below the allowable densities, which of course is a positive thing. But of course will bring a lot of change to the community. So it's just something we'll need to be aware of going forward. As I become more educated on the topic, as the developer reveals more of their master plan to the town, of course we can, possibly sit down with them or have a brainstorming session on things that we'd like to workshop and changes that we'd like to possibly go forward to ensure that all development progresses in a manner that's cohesive with the town of Sunset Beach that everybody loves, and the reason that they come to visit and choose to make this their permanent residence. So
is that in compliance with the current land use plan, correct?
Yes.
That's
yes.
required?
Yes. I mean, basically just like today's approval, Birdwatch was, most of Sea Trail, if not all of Sea Trail is in a medium density district. And today's single family development was well below the minimum or the maximum density that is proposed for or allowed by the land use plan in a medium density district. There are some things that we could potentially look at, to enhance some of our subdivisions. But and looking at some developments that we like in other communities and things of that nature. The state doesn't allow us to do architectural standards. They're not going to let us touch minimum house size, and so working within the parameters to ensure that we get a solid subdivision. I think we made a lot of good changes last year with the stormwater updates for individual homes, adding the the street trees to the ordinances, and making sure that we get sidewalks constructed now, so we have some infrastructure that benefits the entire community, to make it a nice, walkable, vibrant community like that. Were some real good positive steps, and how we can move in the future towards that is going to continue that with the development pressures is going to be extremely important. But we have good ordinances on the books right now, and we've made some really positive changes. Development in North Carolina is always inevitable, and how we adapt to that environment is crucially important. So any feedback you all have in regard to thoughts you may have in response to increased development pressures, or I'm certainly would love to hear from each one of you, as you guys are going to be an integral part of that conversation going forward. Things wherever y'all are from, different parts of the country, so things you've seen in other places where you've lived that have been appealing to your eye that you think would be a benefit here. We can vet those out and make sure that we can do that here in North Carolina, and use it as a tool to make Sunset Beach a better place.
This is Don Eggert. I guess I see Well, let me back up a little bit and state the obvious. Everybody sees this from a little different view. Naturally, it's not unusual for the public to be concerned about development. We frankly are in a very rapidly growing area. That's no secret. It's really hard to stop development because if they have the infrastructure to meet the zoning codes. I think one thing that might be useful going forward, if and when we ever get out of this lockdown, not if but when, is to have the planning board have a work session and identify just what are the issues, because we can throw a lot of stuff out there, but it's really important to most of the community. Now that's just a thought. I'm a newbie, so I'm still trying to get my hands around things, but I think to have a discussion about what are the real issues in the town and what's most important would be useful to me anyway.
And some of that guidance is what I'm waiting to hear a little bit feedback from the town council and
Right.
And then we do have 2 meetings a month always scheduled. Excuse me.
Right.
So we could certainly use those first meetings of the month as a workshop opportunity to discuss.
Yeah.
Once we get these topics, a better handle on what the topics are and where the discussions need to lead to. That's a good point. But other than that, we're flying along with infill permits, all over town and places where there's vacant lots. People are putting houses. Obviously, Sunset Beach is a very attractive town, so it's not just the new places. It's places that have been on the books for 30, 40 years, 50 years in some cases, are seeing, they're the places where the land is available, and people are coming here to put their dream homes and have their little piece of the pie, if you will. So our inspectors are staying busy. Our permits are through the roof. People are adding on to their homes. It's a very unique and very demanding, busy time currently in Sunset Beach.
Hey, Todd.
Yes, sir.
In a recent experience, the town, when they complete inspections, are they not passing that information on to Brunswick County?
All that gets sent over to the county as far as COs and stuff like that. There's a
all permits.
All permits? Yeah, all permits. Cindy, all permits?
Because when the county showed up at my house the other day, they say you're not doing it.
Yeah, once it gets to
it might be just an administrative snafu between the two, but the county told me they're not
mail it out
information from the town that permits are completed.
It gets mailed out monthly. Yeah, every month we mail our permits out to Brunswick County.
We're going to bow out, guys.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't the first county I've ever heard that from to a local municipality.
Now, they just showed up at my place with their iPad, wondering what happened to the permit. So.
And once it gets to the county offices and how their processes work and their trickle down effect to their staff agents, that's beyond me. But we send we send out our information to the county as well as to the I believe the census sends out they have a little worksheet that we have to do quarterly or they request that we do quarterly, and we fill out, and so they can keep track of new starts and population data and property values and things of that nature. But yes, we do send all that information to Brunswick County. Who exactly do we send that to, Cindy? Do you know off the top? To the tax department. Yep, COs and permits go to the tax department in Brunswick County. Oh yeah.
We have any other board member comments?
Well, I would, this is Don Eger again. I would like to, I guess, introduce myself a bit. Todd just mentioned the census. I am working now as a census taker here, primarily in the town. I've been in Sea Trail, Sandpiper, here in Windfall, down in the Dogwood area behind Town Hall, nowhere in Sunset Ridge, doing census taking on those that did not complete a survey, and that's really interesting work. But I've got a good number of years of planning experience. I grew up in Indiana, and as mentioned by Ron, I lived near Chicago for a while, and been in planning one sort or the other. In fact, I helped the town of Sunset Beach with a bike plan a good number of years ago when I worked for the Cape Fear Council of Governments as a transportation planner. So I've seen planning from the other side of the table, and I'm looking forward to my participation here, and hope I can be a positive contributor to the town. As Todd and some of y'all mentioned, we have a lot of challenges, a lot of things on the plate right now, and some of it's going to be a real heavy lift. So that's my story, and I don't have any hair either.
Okay. I like your haircut, actually. Doug.
Yeah,
I guess Todd, one question for you on the public comments. I received those by email.
Yes.
I don't interact with the public. I just forward them to Lisa for the record, and assuming that the policy-making officials can do that. Is that the correct handling?
Yes. So I understand you all have received emails. I've been copied on some of them, and a couple of you have forwarded them to me as well, which I appreciate. I will generally formulate some sort of response to the citizen, and the ones that I received this week, I responded to within a few hours, just to make sure that we're always making contact with the taxpayers or the homeowners or the concerned citizens, as it may be, and try to put out as much factual information, whether it's what they want to hear or not want to hear, but just getting the information out there.
There seems to be confusion on what, like, the planning board does versus what the council does, and I was going to look on our website and I forgot to do it this morning. Does it really explain anywhere what the boards do?
There is, if you go under
authority is and isn't.
I did update that page a little bit. I would recommend to each of you to go to the town website and take a look at the planning board section. There might be some more technical information I could put in there as far as what y'all's specific duties are. You guys have a little bit more than a lot of communities because you are the approving body for site plans, subdivisions, things of that nature. A lot of communities, either their councils take on that responsibility or they relinquish that to staff. So you guys are in a little bit of a unique situation there, which is good. The town trusts you.
Todd, I've got that page right in front of me. I think it's fine. You run the risk of putting out too much information that is difficult for some people to understand. I would not make it too complicated myself, but there's always confusion. And actually, I told Todd the other day, I appreciate the public input. There's some valid points there in many ways. I appreciate knowing what some of the public thinks about this. May not necessarily agree with it, but it's good to know what they're thinking.
I know I've got the feedback. Well, what do you do? I try to explain that we can only, support code. What is already written, we can't write it unless it comes to us in the form of a question, and we can research it and look at it. But I guess they think we make the plans. I'm not sure.
Well, and I think there's because we are such a diverse community of a population that has lived all over the United States and the world and what have you. In many communities, you can make those decisions, is my understanding. I've only worked in North Carolina, so I can't speak for it specifically. But my understanding from talking with folks is that, you literally can make a lot more local decisions to stop a development or a commercial entity or put special conditions on something when it becomes before your board. And of course, as we've talked about in the past, North Carolina is a modified Dillon's rule state, so we get our powers specifically from Raleigh and the state government. We can't exceed any of that, and unfortunately, they can take some authority away from us from time to time. But yes, unless it's in the UDO, we don't have a lot of wiggle room to go beyond what the UDO authorizes us to do.
Well, one thing, not to be disrespectful to the people who sent the email, sometimes with the burn the bridge mentality, let's put a gate up because we've got our little piece of heaven and we don't want anybody else here. There's some of that going on too.
Oh, there's something wrong with that.
There you go. That's right. That's right. Put a gate up.
NIMBY, not in my backyard, right?
That's right. That's right.
It's one of the challenges that comes with development, that's for sure.
Not to mention the vacation traffic.
Right.
But let's don't even go there right now.
No.
Yeah, why are we not controlling that? That's another question. You know, why aren't we looking at the infrastructure? And actually, I talked to Todd about this, you know, in case of emergencies and all, and as many homes that are coming into this area. And he explained to me, that's not us. We can't do anything about that.
I mean, there's, you know, when.
And I think that's important. And I think somehow or the other, somebody needs to address that.
Well, I mean, they do get addressed if, and I can forward you some of the information from GSATs. There are infrastructure improvements being looked at, you know, widening of roads, expansion of Old Georgetown, you know, Seaside Road. There's going to be a lot of improvements because of the developments we approved last year. There'll be, you know, deceleration lanes, expanded turn lanes. They look at the timing of the light cycles, things of that nature. And, you know, and that's largely held by the Department of Transportation.
He's not doing it.
You know, and they, you know, they put together, you know, probably, and it's all online, you know, for anybody who's watching at home, if they're still bearing with us, you know, if you go to the department's website, I did put on there all the new subdivisions that we've approved, all the paperwork, and the ones that had to do TIAs or transportation improvement analysis for the Department of Transportation. Those are on there, and you can see where they've done their traffic counts and what improvements are being slated for those individual developments with the impacts.
Is there any, I remember getting the chart from you, Todd, and I looked over that and on what they're planning. Is there any, do they take any input on future loading? Is there any, you know, like for instance, the Riptide purchase? I mean, obviously nothing's approved for that now, so there's no official development yet. But is there any way to put in saying, okay, over the next 10 years, Sunset Beach is looking for, expect in some sort of range, additional single family or multi-family homes so they can throw that load onto their plan to see like, oh, you know, our load was good for what has happened, but not good enough for what's going to happen. Is there any like pro forma or future looking loading that they do?
There is inquiries from time to time. In my experience, DOT will reach out from time to time. That's one of the important things of GSATs, which is the Grand Strand Transportation Group. But they do, and Don is intimately familiar with this kind of information.
Too much
because that's sort of the problem is that if they're kind of behind, I mean, sometimes the homes go up and developments go up quite quickly. You got the extra people, and they ain't got around yet to building the roads because it takes so long to do that. It seems like things weren't thought out because it just the time gap.
Well, and that usually is more a factor. I mean, and not, to defend DOT a little bit, they would build these roads and do these improvements a whole lot faster. They don't have the money.
That's the key word. If we had a bucket full of money, roads would not be a problem. But we've got too many issues, too many vehicles, too much growth, and not enough money. That's the bottom line right there.
And the other thing for beach communities to always remember is, you know, we see the traffic problems, you know, May, June, July, August, if you will. But when NCDOT does their traffic analysis and their studies and where they need to go, they're looking at average daily trips. So they're not going to look at the peak week of July 4th, which frustrates everybody because that's when we know, like right now, we're sitting here with you know, lots of tourism traffic, lots of day trippers going to go to the beach and stuff like that. But just like any business, they can't afford to build to a peak traffic. Like a restaurant wouldn't build a parking lot for their absolute maximum capacity July 4th weekend. Is probably the best way to do it. You know, you build a new bridge, you don't build it for July 4th, you build it for, Otherwise it'd be putting a 4-lane bridge into the
I
island.
hear that, but that stress testing the system, which is a kind
It
of
is, it is.
But you should, don't you think you should stress test the transportation system during peak hurricane season?
Yeah.
So is that a law or is that just administrative practice at DOT that they maybe should be brought up and thought about? Because obviously hurricanes don't occur in February when we're empty.
Right.
They seem to tend to occur between like August and September when we're crowded. And it seems like a good administrative procedure for DOT would be to stress test the transportation system.
Well, and I can,
the most likelihood for named storms.
and I can check with NCDOT specifically, but I don't believe that they would qualify any of our, like Sunset Boulevard or any of those roads as overly burdened, if you will. Because if you look at what they've required, the improvements they've required for Seaside Road with what we consider locally a lot of cars, it didn't warrant any new lanes of traffic. It didn't warrant, any significant widenings of roads or anything like that. Because on the overall, looking at things and how traffic patterns move and as they thin out, it really doesn't back traffic up per se, if you will. To a point where DOT would truly demand additional lanes of traffic and things of that nature. These widenings of these roads are 10, 15 years out with their current projections, assuming money becomes available.
Todd, when is the GSAT's master plan due for update again?
I'll check on that. I'm not 100% sure
That's
on that.
fine. I'm just curious.
But yeah, there's
to get back to the question of public questions and concerns. Just wanted to make mention of the recommendation that Councilman Corbett made, is that we post on our website some questions and responses in regard to this whole development thing.
right.
I think certainly probably the most prevailing thought that people have is that we can deny, a proposal because we don't like it. is not the case at all.
No,
But
no.
What John had forwarded to us was something that I think Wilmington was doing, where they were just documenting questions that had come from the populace in regards to development, and then just a 1-paragraph answer from the town. Which I think is a good idea. Yeah. I don't know whether you've given it any more thought, Todd, but
I haven't had a chance to process that yet. But yes, no, I read Mr. Corbett's email, and City of Wilmington's Development Services Director got interviewed by the Star News, so that format could certainly be turned into a quick Q&A answer sheet that we could easily put on the website and share with the public as to the cans and cannots, the do's and don'ts of applicants when they come to the town. But yeah, I agree. It's a great idea.
Yeah, I think just to reiterate, one of the things I hear, and I know Todd hears a lot, well, we didn't do it that way in New Jersey. Well, this is not New Jersey or Indiana or wherever. That confuses a lot of people sometimes.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, it's different all over the country, so that's certainly a challenge in every town that's got transplants in it, for sure.
And I'm a transplant.
We won't hold that against you.
But I'm from Indiana, so that's good.
I think probably 90% of us are transplants.
Yes.
At least.
Yeah.
Rod, as far as future agenda items, I think you touched upon the fact that we should get back to the agenda that we had for our March 19th meeting.
Yes.
Which includes, amongst other things, tree protection, which is something we find ourselves talking about with every one of these proposals.
Correct.
And we'll see what comes from council. We had also had thoughts of, I think at this meeting initially, to talk about our zoning for multifamily.
Right.
So there's a couple of items for our next meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Tom, are you looking at a meeting first Thursday in September?
Let's.
Maybe.
We should probably do it for the. Let's get past
Sure.
the September 11th date for the governor, and I think once we get past that, we can shoot for having a regular. That's my goal. Was after we had this submittal, and let's get past the September 11th announcement by the governor, and then my plan is to after that roll into. If we can't do it in person, to do the Zooms, and which would be the 17th of September. So let's shoot for that. That gives me an opportunity too to hear from the town council at their next meeting as to what they may or may not be wanting me to bring to you all. So that gives me that opportunity to compile some of that information as well. But I think that would be important.
Okay, anything else in the way of comments from the board? If not, do we have any public comments?
Let me check. There was somebody back there. Nobody who wants to speak.
Okay. That being the case, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
And I appreciate y'all's help.
Not a problem.